Hello ladies and or gentlemen of Year 7. Your next unit is on Algebra. It'd be pretty new to most of you, I would imagine. So I thought if I can give you a little bit of a heads up with this movie, then we might be able to make a bit more of a flying start in class. You may not be aware of it, but you actually were introduced to algebra in about grade 1 or 2. I'm pretty sure your teacher did things like this for you. 6 plus 4 is, and you had to fill in the box, or maybe something along these lines of 6 plus the box equals 10, and you had to realise, well, the 4 goes in there. Well, look, at Year 7 level, we're not changing a great deal, except what it actually involves now is a whole lot of letters. So these are examples of the sorts of things you might see. Now, these are what are called expressions, where you've got something separated by add or subtract or multiply or divide or anything like that. We call that an algebraic expression. Now what I'm saying in this one is simply, well, 8 plus n, and it could be listed as n plus 8 as well, but that wouldn't matter. Here you've got a minus 7, and this one is just 2 times m. Now here's the tricky thing about it. I don't really care what n is worth at the moment, or what a is worth, or what m is worth. There is a part of algebra you'll do a little bit next year, but a little bit this year, but mostly next year in Year 8, whereby we do try and find out what the value of the letter is. That's called solving equations. But for the beginning at this year, we mainly just want you to understand about how algebra works. And it can confuse a few people because they're so used to maths involving numbers, and now all of a sudden they're starting to put letters in there. All you need to understand to begin with is that the letters are just like a box. They're just representing a number that we don't quite know the value of yet. And for a lot of what we do, we're not going to find the value of it. We are just going to try and see that things still work the same in mathematics, and all the laws are still the same, even if you don't have all the numbers that you need. One thing I do need you to get used to, though, is we have a very special way of saying or writing things in algebra, particularly with multiplication and division. So instead of writing 3 times a, we would actually write it a faster way, just 3a. So the number next to the letter is just a shortened way of writing 3 times a. If you wrote that, that's not wrong, but this is what we just prefer to write, something like that. Now, we don't do it with numbers, because something like 6 times 4, if you left the multiplication symbol out, reads as 64. So you can't do it with numbers, but when you've got a number and a letter, or more than one letter, you can leave out the multiplication sign. So here's another one, 5 times c. Now I'm hoping in your brain already you're saying, the answer to that would be 5c, and there it is, of course. And here's just a few more quick examples there as well. So 6 times m, we would just write as 6m, 5 times t as 5t, and this one, 3 times a times b, we just write as 3ab. And what you have to know is you have to know that when it's just written like that, they actually mean multiplied by. Another thing I want you to get used to is actually division. This is going to follow you all through in everything we do, even measurement formulas. When we have a division involving algebra, we tend just to write it as a fraction. I haven't changed the value of it. 12 on top of h, 12 is the numerator, h is the denominator, still means 12 divided by h, but that's the way I'm going to prefer you to write it, if you would. So if you could get used to that. It's going to crop up in measurement formulas, it's going to crop up in lots of other different things we do throughout the next few years. So divisions, a divided by 3. Now hopefully again you're a step ahead of me and you're saying, that's a over 3, which it is. 3y divided by 4. Now think about it for a sec, I'm sure you're going to get this right. That would be written as 3y over 4. So that's just a little bit of an introduction of some things in algebra. You've actually seen algebra a little bit already. We've done a big unit on measurement, and I think you did most of it while I was away, and you came across different things like that there, where we had letters standing for numbers, and what you learned to do is you were made to write the formula all the time, and then you swapped the letter for the actual number value that it was, usually from a diagram of a rectangle or a square or something like that, or in this instance from a triangle. If you couldn't remember, that's the formula for the area of a triangle. Now, area or even any measurement formula, they are actually a form of algebra, because you've got letters that are representing, well, for a minute, unknown numbers, but then we eventually find the numbers from a story or from a diagram or something like that. Alright, the first thing that we are going to learn about algebra is using it to follow a formula, and we're going to start with these sorts of tables. So here I've got this thing up the top here. This is what's called an equation. B equals A plus 3. And the table down here is what's called a table of values. Now don't worry too much about that word for the moment, but this is an important word, equation. The reason it's an equation is it has this. As soon as you put an equal sign in there, you've got what's called an equation. Now all that's happening here is that this equation says that B is A plus 3. So all I need to do to finish the table is to do what it says there. Add 3 to the value of A. Now in this one I'm saying A is worth 2. In this one I'm saying A is worth 5 and 6 and 8. And then we've got a different one down there. So to finish the table, all you have to do is fill in the value there. Whatever A is, there, and then add on 3. So hopefully you're, again, I've said this a few times now, skipping a little bit ahead of me, and you're realising, well, if A is worth 2, 2 plus 3 is 5, so 5 has to go in there. And then you could probably move pretty quickly, I would think. A is worth 5 here, so add on 3 to that, and you get 8. And all you have to do is finish the pattern of it. Add on 3 to the number up here in the A row. So the equation is B equals A plus 3, right there, and that means that you add 3 to every A score to get the B score. Here's a similar one down here. M equals D minus 4, and I've told you what D is worth. It's worth 4 there, 6 there, 8 there, and 12 there. So all you have to do is take away 4 each time from what I'm telling you D is worth. So 4 take away 4, 0. I hope you already had that in your head already, and we can move pretty quickly now. D is worth 6, so 6 take away 4 is 2. Continue the pattern. 8 take away 4 is 4, and 12 take away 4 is 8. Now that's part of algebra, being able to follow a pattern, and I think you find that pretty simple. Here's a more difficult one we might come across. In this one, I have actually told you what X is worth. And then I've told you what Y is worth. So this is the X row, this is the Y row. Now what I will tell you is to go from 1 to 6, then 2 to 7, then 5 to 10, then 10 to 15. I have done the same thing each time. Same thing there, same thing there, same thing there, same thing there. So what you have to do is you have to look at what's happening here. What happened for 1 to become 6? What happened for 2 to become 7? What happened for 5 to become 10? What happened for 10 to become 15? I did the same thing every single time, and so what I need you to do is say, well, what is the actual rule? What is happening every time? Now this is a fairly simple example. Hopefully you've realised that in each one I've gone up by 5. I've added on 5, so my equation would be that Y is whatever X is plus 5. Add on 5, got 6, 2 plus 5 is 7, 5 plus 10 is 5, 10 plus 5 is 15. So there are two ways to work there. You can be given a table and told the rule and asked to fill it in, or you might be given all of the values and see if you can find the rule. Alright guys, let's look a bit of an introduction for you. We'll be going over this in class again, but I thought it would help if you had just this little bit of information to give you a kickstart. You can come up in class to me and say this to me. You come up and say this to me, and that'll be a good indication that I know that you watched this. See you in class. Bye.